celebrate. They have done it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. I've pulled myself off the sick bed. This man flu has had me in a grip. It's like Dan Burn beating McAllister for a header. I've been chinned this week. I've had 50 shades of snot and it cultivated in a tickly cough yesterday, so I'm trying to get through this. I'll sound like Bob Fleming, but I had to come on and do a quick video. There's been a bombshell thrown to the Newcastle United fan base. You know exactly where I'm going with this. It's all about the Crest, simply the Crest, as I've called this. So Newcastle United, if you're a season ticket holder or a member, you've received an email from the football club that has basically asked you for your opinion on updating the club crest that's been in situ since 1988. Now, before I get into this, I do see both sides of this. This is a very emotive subject for the fan base. That crest means a lot to a lot of people. Certainly me. You know, I fell in love with Newcastle United in the mid to late 80s, and that was my, you know, first crest. I think of that crest, I think of Newcastle United. And, you know, in the blurb that they kind of went through, you know, they're talking about the complexity, you know, in the intricacies of the badge and how hard it is, you know, in terms of print and embroidering and digital display. And it was all very corporate marketing yard talk when you went through that. I can understand why that's rattled a few cages. But when I look at that badge, I just think Newcastle United. I think Alan Shearer. I think, you know, the cup winning Carabao Cup side. I think about Bobby Robson. I think about all the wonderful memories I've had as a Newcastle United fan attached to that badge. But this isn't the first time the club has changed the crest. You know, the crest has been changed about 4 times. We're on the 4th, I think, incumbent of it, you know, back from the 60s and then through the Keegan era. This isn't the first time that this has happened, but it is the first time it's happened when fans have so much of a platform to voice their displeasure. And that is definitely what's happening, I think, on a lot of avenues of social media. I'm going to give you my opinion on it in a second, but just going back to what the club have done. So the club sent out this email and they asked you to fill out a survey. It was pretty much a generic survey. It was very much done by a third-party survey company. I've seen a few people getting pissed off that the questions were a bit more open or empathetic, you know, in terms of giving you a chance to elaborate on why it's important to you and why it's not important to you. But this is what these companies do. You farm them out and they just send you a generic survey and they change the content, and it's just the same template to send out company to company, and that's all they've done. You know, but I gave my opinion on it and I gave my comments on it as well for whatever they're worth. But let's call a spade here. The club have already made the decision about what they're doing with this. I think they offered you three R's, I think it was. It was revive, and it was redesign, and then it was was it regenerate or something? I can't remember the 3 R's. I'm full of cold still. I'm on paracetamols. You know, take your drugs responsibly, kids. But yeah, going back to the whole thing about this now. The cynic in you would say the club has already decided what they're going to do, and that is exactly what they've done. You know, and this is what I'm going to get to the nuts and guts of this. Really, is that whether we like it or not, Newcastle United is on that journey that people have walked before us, Manchester City in particular, which is probably the nearest comparison. Manchester City changed their crest from what it was to what it is now. You know, and you look at Arsenal have changed their crest. You know, I think even Leeds tried it. I had a big backlash on that. But PSG have changed it. Juventus have completely rebranded. Inter Milan kind of revived theirs, which I think is probably what the club are going to do. I don't think they're going to make massive changes to this crest. But, you know, if you honestly think that they're not going to do this now because you go mad about it or do a petition or a poll or whatever, you're probably wasting energy on it because they've already decided to do this. Now, I think the way they've pitched it, and again, I might be being a little bit cynical here, but the way they've pitched it is to make you feel like you've been involved, even though the decision's already been made. You know, they're asking how important you feel elements of the badge are. They'll have an idea in their mind what they're willing to sacrifice from the badge or not, and they'll just use some of that data, you know, collected to I suppose, just vindicate the decisions. But looking at it in the kind of context of everything, this is a sad inevitability of modern day football. This is what happens, you know, whether you're talking about a ground, whether you're talking about a crest, you know, these things change. Certain things are sacrosanct, I think, for me, like the black and white stripes should never change. And there's some part of the fan base that I think if they had us playing in blue and white, they would still be all right with it and probably attack you for having an opinion on it because, you know, they swig that much Kool-Aid, it's coming out of the fucking nose. But there is certain stuff that's sacrosanct. And I think the crest, maybe Peter's on that, but I think they will make a change. But I think the change should be minimalistic. I really do. I mean, I don't agree with some of the hysteria and the abuse. You know, I was reading the comments on the Trust's page and the fan advisory board, and some people are really getting stuck into them. And look, you know, it's not their decision to change it. This is the club's decision to change it. So don't attack the the fan advisory board or the trust about that. You know, they're just talking about it and sending it out to members and engaging with fans for opinion. And I think the club will make minimalistic changes, and that's really important because this isn't just a logo, this is an identity. You know, for some people, they have it tattooed on their arms, their legs, their shirt, their faces. Some of these motherfuckers, you know, they might have to go back to tattoo parlour and ask for a slight amendment. So they'll be hoping that the changes are minimalistic. I've seen some of these supposed leaked images, and I'm not very impressed with what I've seen there. It looks a little bit like a 3D sketch of a bored teenager doing the back of his art class when the teacher's talking shit. Which is not for me, to be honest with you. But I don't think the club would allow that to be leaked out, to be fair. I really don't think that is probably an accurate representation of what the image would be. But I thought they did do a good job of breaking down the history behind the crest. And in a weird way, they kind of indicated why the crest is the way it looks, you know, with the seahorses and the lion and the flag and, you know, everything else that represents the port and the lineage of the city. And it's important that stays around. It really, really is. But using words like global brand and digitalization and all that is just the modern day kind of soulless corporate talk you expect from clubs that are businesses and multi-billion pound, million pound businesses, really. They don't talk like a club created by working class miners anymore, because that's not what they are. The amount of money and marketing and prestige and all that goes on in football now is completely transcended the old game, the working class game that we all, you know, loved and fell in love with at a young age. And, you know, the game is still, you know, exciting and electric on the pitch, there's no doubt about it. Quality players, great goals, all that kind of stuff. But behind the scenes, it's raw business, commercialism, capitalism, profit, sustainability, all that stuff. Just what you'd expect for huge corporate companies to have conversations with. And this is exactly what this is all about. But they're trying to, I suppose, come across as considerate here, because they can't just go, hey, there's a new logo like Leeds tried to do a few years ago, and they got absolutely battered for it. You know, I would question the timing of the whole thing. I think I seen a post from Gallagher Shots. Big shout out to those guys for whacking that up. I agree with them. The timing's pretty shit, really, because Newcastle got the biggest game, arguably, this season, you know, next to the League Cup final on Sunday, where it's a Champions League shootout against Chelsea. The winner gets Champions League with all the bells and whistles and everything else attached to it. And that's where the focus should be. To bring out this news a few days before that, I think is a real unnecessary distraction. I think this kind of stuff could wait till the end of the season. We don't need to talk about this now. There's 4 games left to go, and we don't need to be talking about this anymore, or 3 games left to go. We don't need to be talking about this anymore until the summer. You know, it shouldn't be a distraction, but now it is. Fans will be talking about it tonight over a beer, through the weekend, you know, on Sunday when they're walking up to the game, half time on the kiosks. They'll all be talking about this crest, and I just think it's poor timing from the club, and maybe just stinks of a bit of a naivety and a disconnect within the commercial side of the business. That, you know, that their kind of, I suppose, timeline and agenda is so important that it transcends the football, which it should never do, but it obviously has done on this occasion. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the change to the crest. For you, is it just a complete no-go? Is the crest sacrosanct to you? Does it have to stay? Or do you understand it has to be changed? We respect and want to hear everyone's opinions. If you don't like it, tell us why, and tell us why it shouldn't be changed. If you're all right with it, and tell us why you've not got a problem with it, tell us in the comments. No need to abuse each other. We like to open up the forum for a good, open engagement, a conversation here, you know, with Newcastle United fans about a real serious subject matter. But this has definitely got tongues wagging, no doubt about it. And it'd be really interesting to see what the club do with it. I don't think the crest will change next season. So next season's shirt will be the last one with the old crest on. Again, that'll probably cause a clamour of people to buy it. But it'll be the season after that to make the change. But at least they haven't just dropped it on us without a conversation, even though they've probably made their minds up. It does look like, on the outside anyway, that they care about what we think. Whether they do or not, it remains to be seen. I'll let you decide that on your level of cynicism. But that's my thoughts on that, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I got through without coughing my lungs out, so I must be getting better. Like and subscribe, keep it evermore. Have a lovely weekend on a sunny day in Newcastle. I hope you've had a belt. I hope you had a great weekend. And we'll see you for post-match on Sunday, where hopefully Newcastle have got one step closer to securing Champions League football. It's a big one. See you later. Have a good one. Cheers.
heroes celebrate. They have done it.